Well, the whole point is to cater to the entire audience.
Yeah. If I drop dead right now, the world will keep spinning.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if money wasn't an object in this case, you could then do it to have one per large grid square.
Speaking of Milsim Days, though, they do make props that could be utilized for that. They make it's a target that reacts to impact.
So you're like, hey, can I borrow a Viper hood? I'm like, yeah, sure, you can wear this one. I was like, plus it's all dry, like cotton material and twill. Like, it's going to go up really easy if you catch fire.
We talked about face paint last podcast, and we were
The
like,
Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
we were like, all right, Sunday we're doing face paint. So it was like, hell yeah, let's do face. So we did face paint, and you're like, I might as well go full recce. And I was like, fuck it, I'll go recce too. I won a tic-tac-toe tournament.
Sorry.
You lost on a dual injury.
You got lucky on the dual injury.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Zulu 24 podcast. As always, I'm joined by Anthony from fucking Big Headed Studios. And
What about brown toast?
Jordan, well, he's being very arrogant this morning.
That's true.
This is the first time.
Jordan from Zulu Outdoor.
This is the first time I showed up first.
Yeah.
You're here first if you sleep here.
I didn't sleep here.
The fact that both of us were like, obviously you slept here, it just shows how late you always are and how it's extremely rare for you to be here, therefore surprising to us. And we're just like, oh shit.
I'm trying to break out of musician time.
He does have a cot in his room.
Did you really sleep here?
I don't have a cot. I got rid of it.
Is it next to your brown toes? Your cot? Anthony sleeps in the shop with his brown toes. His wife kicked him out because of his brown toes.
I do occasionally nap in the shop.
Nap in the shop?
Sometimes I have 24-hour
Benders.
work days of, I think bender's the right word. So you got to squeeze in a power nap.
That's not helping you. Oh God. Anyway, I have recently had a Mandela effect.
I would love to know about this.
And it's so deeply rooted and ingrained that it makes me feel like a crazy person. And I actually had to like reach out to buddies of mine to make sure that they heard it the same way. And they did. So a long, long time ago, we were doing some training in the military. VBSS. Now, what VBSS entails, and we'll get into what the acronym is in a minute, is taking over ships, right? So you're fast roping onto ships, like whatever. And it wasn't just our group. It was also elements of like force reconnaissance and also like battalion recon, right? So it wasn't just us that was there. And up until, 2 weeks ago, VBSS to me meant something. And then I was like listening to like multiple podcasts with like Navy SEALs and shit, like people who know their fucking shit. And when they said VBSS, they said something different.
So I just Googled what it meant.
No. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So to me, my up until 2 weeks ago, VBSS for me meant vessel board search and seizure. But during a bunch of podcasts, I heard a bunch of people. And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, whatever. Visit board search and seizure. And if you Google it,
that's what comes up.
Visit board search and seizure. So I was like, wait, am I just like, did I hear it wrong for the month long of fucking training where there were multiple instructors all saying vessel board search and seizure? And then the force reconnaissance guys were there. The battalion recon guys were there. Like, did I just fucking hear it wrong? So I was like messaging my Marine Corps buddies that we all went through the same training. And I was like, hey, what does VBSS mean? And they said vessel board search and seizure. And then I told them, I was like, it's visit. And they're like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. I was like, yeah, that's how I feel too. But it's like everywhere else is visit board search and seizure. Like I'm the crazy person. For me, it was the Barnstein Bears, like fucking like it was vessel. It was fucking vessel because it makes sense. Vessel, right? Vessel board search and seizure. Here's the thing, and here's the shit you're gonna do on the thing, right? I think I'm crazy.
I think psyops are real, and I think marketing is just another form of psyop.
Oh, please.
And I think rebranding is also a form of marketing, which is a form of psyop. So, for instance, the Fruit of Loom logo.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the cornucopia.
Yeah.
which
So
I swear doesn't exist.
but the thing is, it used to. But I think there was like
I think you'll be surprised if you Google that.
right. But the thing is, either people got it mixed up with Hannaford, the Hannaford logo.
No, because there was a girl that went and she searched like a fuck ton of Goodwills until she finally found one that had it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then was like, no, it exists.
It was
Right.
like a Halloween costume.
Right. So Fruit of Loom had to change the logo for some reason. Maybe.
It's also totally understandable that in the military, like acronyms would fucking change.
Sure. I just don't know why that one would need to change.
Correct. But it's like well within the confines of like the amount of times I've heard dudes.
Google VBSS in 2004.
Let's look it up.
Right. Like,
right. But
Well, I'm just going
I
off
think
of
this
like,
is-
there's like, when it comes to like military shit, we hear it all the time. Like people talking about that we're in. Some people just change shit to change shit.
well, I wonder if either A, we were taught incorrectly, or B, everyone else is wrong. So I'm going to go with B.
let's turn that off. Well, what's interesting is if there is a change in logo or a change in the acronym, changing it is like whatever. It's the fact that the history of it gets erased.
Yeah.
That's the psyop component of it to me. It's the ability to erase something from history
So then
because
why-
Google says something different now.
Sure. In this case, why get rid of the word vessel?
I don't know. Why get rid of the cornucopia?
Vessel.
Why
Well, yeah, but I'm saying-
hide the fact that the cornucopia ever existed in
Sure.
the logo?
But like what are they prepping for? They're probably just trying to save money on ink or some shit. Like the brown's too expensive. Fucking
Either that or they probably got a cease and desist from like Hannaford because I think they have a cornucopia in their logo and it got
no. I'm
Mixed
sure Fruit of the Loom was around way before Hanford.
so like music, right? Musicians, bands, when they get picked up by a label and they get a manager that is ultimately going to fuck them over
Yeah.
and, siphon every ounce of profit out of them. One of the first things that they'll typically do is they'll look at anything that the band currently has on the internet,
Yeah.
any past posts they've done, whatever image they've had of themselves, and they'll just like erase it.
The
They're
acronym
like,
was changed.
What's that?
It was changed.
I'm not crazy.
No, because I'm reading an article on it now. One of the principal missions of the U.S. Special Operations Forces is vessel boarding, search, and seizure, VBSS. This is sometimes referred to as visit, boarding, search, and seizure. A number of U.S. Special Operations Force units train and conduct these operations and missions. Boarding operations are one of the most complex and dangerous operations that SOF units can conduct. And then it's got a bunch of references of the 26 MEU doing VBSS out in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's basically saying the acronym was changed in 2019.
Okay. So I'm not crazy.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. I can let my other guys know that we're not crazy.
No, you're not. And this is a news article talking about it. It's referencing the U.S. Navy website, marine.mil, U.S. Naval Institute. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably okay.
you start updating those sources. You start changing those credible sources. All of a sudden, you're changing history.
Technically, yeah.
And the fact that like the collective consciousness,
Well,
people's memories are now conflicted with what they're reading online when they go to like fact check versus their own prior knowledge. It's like whether if it's intentional or not intentional, whatever the reason is that something has to change and they have to erase that they had a cornucopia in their logo or that V was vessel. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the ability to manipulate the mass conscious by changing what the credible source now says. That's what's kind of interesting to me.
that brings me back to a point that
Like
I brought up before.
It's possible and it happens.
We all went through school,
Yeah.
like basic, rudimentary, elementary, middle, high school. We all took like history classes. I remember the history textbooks being in decades. So like you did a week on the 1910s, the 1920s, the Great Depression. Then it was World War II. What is the history book going to look like for 2010 to 2020 and then 2020 to 2030? Because we are living.
Depends on the publisher.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Because like I made this joke a lot during 2021. I'm really, really tired of living through like major life events already.
No,
like
come on.
societal change. And
9/11 was a major life event. This is all just
correct.
bumps in
And
the road.
by the time I hit high school, there were chapters on 9/11 in the history books.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, we remember what 2016, what 2020 was like, the summer of 2020. What if it turns into like I don't know, in 10, 12 years when your kid's coming home from high school going, hey, Dad, what was it like living through the most like crucial pandemic of the modern age?
It's the same as you guys being like, what was it like on 9/11 when you were 18 years old looking at it?
You know what's funny? My stepfather, he's pretty old, right? So I think he was born in the 50s. So during the 60s, 70s, like civil rights movement, Vietnam happening, like he was, essentially like he was like a teenager.
Yeah.
So I remember going to school and learning about some stuff and talking about it at home. And he's like, that's fucking bullshit. He's like, I was there, and he would tell me some crazy shit.
That's what I'm getting at.
So that's going to be us. We're going to be like, what do they tell you about 2020? Ah.
See, that's why. Okay, so when Anthony goes off on a tangent about 9/11 being an inside job, that's why I just poo-poo on it, because I lived that day as an adult. So I have. It wasn't like I was 6 years old. Like I remember that day completely. Even to this day, I remember exactly what we did that day.
Really out me there. I was like 5.
Hey, well,
I do remember it, but I was like 5.
Well,
Oh man. I mean,
but what do you really remember from 5? You probably remember the way that your mom
I remember
reacted
the
or something.
Teachers in the classroom freaking out, and then
Teachers, you were in kindergarten.
I was 3.
Yeah.
there was 2 teachers.
In kindergarten, I think they're just
Well, there was a teacher
they're
and a
just
teacher's
babysitters.
aide.
Yeah, they're just babysitters.
And then the entire school got put on lockdown. And my mom came around like 11 or 12 o'clock because she was working over at the airport, which Stewart has an active military base on it. So they weren't letting her leave. And finally they did. She came and picked myself as well as our neighbors up, took us home, and we played volleyball in the yard all day because we were told we weren't allowed to watch TV.
Yeah, probably a good thing. Yeah, there was like even throughout the day, in the weeks after, there was like this. I don't know if it was an overreaction. I don't know what it was, but people were like, "I see a man driving a box truck and he's going." That was
I've
like
read about that.
There was like
Hysteria is real.
yeah, there was some hysterical shit that happened. But to be fair, to be honest with you, like everybody was fucking American that day and the next couple weeks. So if there was any sort of anti-American sentiment, it got fucking stomped. Like it got fucking stomped.
Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire. So I think they delayed releasing that movie because the Twin Towers were in it.
Yeah.
Because they started filming prior to the attack.
There was a bunch of movies that got delayed.
By the time the movie came out, there was American flags. They made it like really, they had patriotism in it.
There was some like not like a famous rapper, but there was some rap album that was coming out, and the fucking album cover was airplanes going into the Twin Towers. And they were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna put that out."
Well, if you fold the dollar bill a certain way, if you fold all the dollar bills a certain way, it's actually like the time lapse of events from the moment the towers got hit to when they collapsed.
Yep.
Have you seen those? Have you seen those theories?
No, it's fucking
No, like if you take dollar bills, it's like
yeah. You know how many fractals are in a dollar bill? You could probably make anything you want.
You fold all of them the same exact way, and as you go through the dollar bills, it looks like the progression of the buildings and the smoke burrowing, and then eventually it's gone.
Oh my god, that's pretty.
It's the Illuminati. I mean, the Federal Reserve, and they make the money, and they.
Sure, we're already going to get a bunch of comments about.
Oh yeah, no. I'm surprised we're talking about this on the podcast.
I was going to say, you guys want to talk about another weird history event that doesn't get talked about a lot, but was in that same time period?
Also, I just want to say this because people are going to comment on it. The whole you saying I think it's an inside job. I'm just saying I have questions.
I'm saying I saw it, but anyway, go ahead.
You guys remember the following summer when all of a sudden the Eastern Seaboard just like lost power for like 24 hours?
Nope.
The blackout of 2002.
Nope.
Really? You don't remember that?
I don't think it affected me.
Dude, it affected the entire Northeast. It was like blackout from northern New Hampshire to Virginia. And it was the summer of 2022.
2022.
I'm going to double check and make sure it was 2022. It was either the summer of 2022 or not 2022, 2002. The summer of 2002, it was a blackout that was the entire Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
You know what nobody's going to talk about in history textbooks about the 2020s? Nobody's going to talk about the
Sorry,
Jones.
2003. So it's called the Northeast Blackout of 2003. It affected all the way
When did it happen?
August 14th to the 16th.
That's why. Okay.
Why?
Because I was in the military.
So it affected all the way from northern Canada to southern Ohio, New Jersey, PA, New York, the entirety of it, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And it was, so I remember this being the first time I can actually say I remember saying something stupid, because I was at home. I'd gotten picked up from summer camp and the power was out, but I didn't know what that meant. And I said to my mom, I was like, well, the AC's off. Why don't we just turn the fan on? And she's like, sweetie, we don't have power. And like 7-year-old me didn't understand what that meant.
Cake.
Yeah. But I started diving down a rabbit hole because it popped up in a news feed. This is how fragile the electrical infrastructure is. It was because one single, what's the big gray thing that's on the top of the power lines?
Oh, the transformer?
Transformer.
Yeah.
One single transformer out in Ohio got overloaded, and it took out the entire power grid for those states.
But so that would imply that Southern Canada
Was on the same electrical grid.
Yeah.
And it was because the company had overlapping electrical lines, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I watched that video, but seeing as we were in that time realm of early 2000s weird shit, I wanted to know if you remembered that.
No, I don't.
It's a miracle that shit works, and that when it goes out, they can identify what went out.
It took them almost 12 hours to figure it out.
Yeah, but still, only 12
Yeah,
hours.
think about 3 states in Southern Canada worth
Yeah.
of power lines, and you're
Right.
like, I mean, that's pretty impressive. But
Yeah, like that's the map of the area where everyone had power.
Shit.
That's why I'm like,
It's like an entire province in Canada.
Yeah,
That's why I'm like,
that's
I'm
not just
surprised.
Southern Canada.
Yeah, right.
I'm surprised you didn't remember it, but I didn't know at
No,
that point in time
yeah.
you were already in the military.
I was in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's another one where
What year was that?
2003. It was August 14th to the 16th. 55 million people were affected, and over 100 people died because of it.
100 people died
Dude,
because they
because they
lost
have
power for
Yeah.
12
Like,
How?
In the hospital, a ventilator maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but hospitals have like backup generators and shit.
It was a widespread power outage throughout parts of the Northeast, Midwest, and parts of Ontario, Canada.
You imagine that's all it takes to kill you is somebody go down in your basement and flip a breaker?
Dude.
Fucking for 12 hours or 24 hours, that's it? You can only last 24 hours without power? Fuck. And it's not even like it was hot, right? Like
It was August.
in New York,
Yeah.
in Canada.
And then when the power's back, you're like, the light. the light.
The light.
Yeah, power
great-
surge towards Ontario affected the transmission grid at around 4:10 p.m. And then for the next 30 minutes, outages were reported across all of the states.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That implies that just they're all connected. I mean, they are all connected,
Yeah.
but like that really there's no.
Over 85% of the population living in those regions entirely lost power.
Can we go nuclear now, please?
I have fun when the power goes out.
It describes it as being a hot day of 88 degrees Fahrenheit.
88.
88.
Somebody died because of 12 hours of sunlight at 88 degrees.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's probably like
When I was a kid,
frail old people, but
and the power went out, it was like, hell yeah. If it gets late, we're going to have lamps. We're going to survive. Like I would watch like Man vs. Wild.
you wouldn't watch anything because you'd have no power.
I'd watch Man vs. Wild as a kid. I was always just like, yeah, I could make it through power's out. Cool. Propane works. Fucking going on the grill, cooking eggs on the grill.
It's like camping, but better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of.
No, man.
Yeah. So
Now that all the conspiracy theorists are in the comments, that's great. Can we talk about flat Earth? Can we talk about how stupid?
Well,
flat Earth
I was going to say, you brought up nuclear. I think we should just talk about that.
Nuclear? Yeah, we should go nuclear, dude. It's been. I mean, when's the last time we built a nuclear power plant?
Well, Microsoft purchased 3 Mile Island recently.
Good,
And
dude. Nuclear is the only option we have right now.
And I think it's, I'll double check and make sure it was Microsoft. It was either Microsoft or Google. It was one of the two. They bought 3 Mile Island and they're going to return reactor 2 to being active.
Oh, to power their AI, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's only going to utilize 60%. So the other 40% is going to be pumped back into the power grid. So it's like creating a huge amount of jobs in the area. Also, it's bringing back the whole like that. I think that's the only way we're going to get back to nuclear is like these big tech companies are going to buy it to power their AI and
Sure.
use it to also fund the power grid in the area.
You can't tell me that. I don't know when the last nuclear power plant was, but I'm going to assume it's like 70s, right?
That was built or was shut
Built,
down?
like built.
I think
Or even in the 50s. Who knows? But
in the U.S., I think it was the 70s or 80s. It was the one out in Washington that they got like 95% of the way done, and then Chernobyl happened, and they put a bunch of restrictions in, and they were like, for us to combat these restrictions that are now put in, it would be cheaper for us to just
abandon it.
cut our losses. They never even brought it online.
Yeah. So you can't tell me that in the 50 years or almost 60 years, we haven't perfected fucking how to make a goddamn nuclear power plant. You
It
can't
was
tell me
safe
that.
the entire time.
Sure, right? Like,
At its very base core, it's just using steam.
That's it.
Cool nuclear rods to create electricity.
it's a giant steam engine, but
yeah. But because of Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, which in comparison, 3 Mile Island isn't even that bad. Like what happened there in comparison to Chernobyl is like I punched you in the arm versus I shot Anthony in the face.
no,
Like that's the difference there. Like,
I got the arm punch.
yeah. But in reality, like, let's put it this way. You probably do remember the Fukushima disaster.
Oh yeah,
That took 2 acts of God. Like for that power plant to fail, it took 2 separate acts of God at the same time.
Was it like a tsunami and an earthquake?
Yeah,
Yeah,
simultaneously.
absolutely.
And even
Yeah.
then, I think they're called the Fukushima 13 or something like that. It was like 13 or 15 dudes that stayed. And they're
Bro.
like, we're probably going to die. But if we stay, we can stop it from going critical.
They saved Japan.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They stopped it from turning into Chernobyl. So it's like, that's what it took to bring a modern day nuclear reactor to the point of like, okay, this could be catastrophic. Like, it's fucking safe, guys.
So don't put the nuclear reactor in California.
right.
But they need to.
Don't put it in Tornado Valley. Well, I mean, you can
Tornado Alley.
Tornado Alley,
Yeah.
Valley.
Nope.
Alley.
Alley.
The flatlands.
We need
of
to
the
Google
Central
this.
United-
Growing up, it's always been Tornado Alley.
It was Tornado
it is
Alley.
Tornado Alley.
You said Valley.
Tornado Valley. It's always been Tornado Valley.
Tornado Alley. Yes, that's the flatlands in the United
You really looked that up? You had to look that one up?
No.
Come on now.
Because I wanted to know the exact region.
It's Mandela effect.
It's amazing.
You guys are psyoping me.
Because there's actually 3 different ones.
Turns out everybody's toes are brown. You're the weird one without brown toes.
Yo, people are asking me. So, okay, there's some people are saying, what's up with the brown toes? Like making
Yes.
fun of me. Other people are like, what, like, what's up with the brown toes? Why is that a thing?
Because I said it was, and that's all it takes.
I was like, imagine
Anthony doesn't know how to wash his feet.
imagine being so good at axe throwing and volleyball.
And then when they walked away, they were like, "Oh, thanks, brown toes."
Yeah.
Like, they weren't like axe god. No, they were like, "Oh, thanks, brown toes."
It's the price I pay.
Yeah.
My toe looks like these, so your toes can look like these.
Oh my God.
Everybody wants trenches, but nobody wants brown toes.
Right. Oh shit.
Oh my God.
Yep. Actually, this was from building the berm. I'm convinced.
So
Do we want to talk about airsoft now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Now that we've gone off the rails with history and
Right.
conspiracies.
So I did. Okay. Speaking of disasters, I used the fire stick yesterday,
Yes, you did.
and nothing bad happened to me. Something bad almost happened to you with your MWS.
That is true.
So the fire stick is a gas gun running map gas using the Bosch unit, also running map gas.
Specifically the GHK.
Specifically the one that caught on fire when Dan was using it.
It caught fire because he had a cracked feed lip, so the gun jammed, and because the bolt didn't go forward all the way, it just spewed gas out.
Yes.
And
Which is a critical flaw in all gas guns. It can happen to any of them.
I see Jordan you've shared copium now.
No. I was just agreeing with you. That's a shared flaw with all gas guns, and it can technically happen to any of them.
imagine you're patrolling in the woods, and then you just hear off in the distance, contact left, and then you look over, and there's just a fireball.
Yeah. That'd be so cinematic and immersive. You'd be like, oh my God.
You wouldn't need a Smoky Wolf. You would be the smoke.
Yes. And I am Widowy an alpha wolf too, so I'll be a willy smoky alpha wolf.
Like after the fireball clears, you just look like fucking Edward Teach.
Yeah.
You just look like Blackbeard, like fucking smoke coming off of all your facial hair.
Yeah, and I was wearing your Viper hood too, so I just had dry flammable things
Yeah.
all over me.
You asked me, you're like, hey, can I borrow a Viper hood? I'm like, yeah, sure, you can wear this one. I was like, plus it's all dry, like cotton material and twill. Like it's going to go up real easy if you catch fire.
We talked about face paint last podcast, and we were
The
like,
Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
we were like, all right, Sunday we're doing face paint. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do face. So we did face paint. And you're like, I might as well go full recce. And I was like, fuck it. Yeah, I'll go recce too. So, and we were both running gas guns with Boss units, and we were sneaking around just so we could be loud and ineffective the moment we got contact.
Yeah. Because it would be, fuck, contact left. Both of us shoot 20 to 30 rounds. Now we're both out of ammo or gas, if not both. Now we're both reloading while those 5 dudes are like, oh, they didn't hit us.
There were kids following us too, as if like
we looked like we knew what we were doing.
Like they were following us like we were going to lead the way. And it was like, no, bro, you're going to die with us.
Yeah. This is a one-way trip, gentlemen.
Yeah.
As much as I've said like, oh, the MWS is like really, really well tuned and like super gas efficient. I must have had propane in one mag and then decided to put green gas in on top of that because I got the weirdest gas mixture and it started like spurting gas out the chamber. I go,
Yeah.
take that mag out, put a new mag in. I'm like, okay, now we can go back to play.
Running your GHK with the Boss unit, it makes me want to run your GHK without the Boss unit.
It's a fun gun.
It's fun with the Boss, but the DAV is still definitely an experiment.
Yes.
And there was one moment where we were like,
it just started going off.
we were taking fire in the woods, and these guys were maneuvering on us.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't just sneak and let them pass. Like we were in a firefight. They're shooting at the log I'm hiding behind, and I like poke my head up and I'm seeing dudes like moving, like they're surrounding us.
They were using suppressive fire?
We're shooting back. Eventually they kind of like disappear. So we figured they were doing the same thing. So we're like hunkering down. We're trying to be quiet. And all of a sudden, the Boss unit just starts firing. The gun's not shooting. The Boss starts firing. And I think it's the switch in the trigger guard. I think because there was moisture in the air or something bridged it and made it fire. So I'm like holding the sleeve open so it doesn't keep doing that. And as we're like hiding in the bush, I have my Viper hood on, right? All you hear is the Boss scream because the sleeve's open. It's like, meh, meh. And Jordan's looking at me like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm like looking over my shoulder. I'm like, is that you? And he's just like, yeah, the DAV's firing itself. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We gotta, I honestly think that once the wires get like soldered to it, if we just like hot glue,
we could.
It just anything that could bridge those two things. Also, your switch is really fucked up.
No shit.
Like
that was the test run.
Yeah. I think the switch is broken too.
I literally handed it to you and said, this was the test run. All I did was hollow out a Magpul MOE trigger guard and epoxy that fucking micro switch in.
I would love to try an induction switch.
Sure.
The problem with magnets though, is that anything magnetic.
They're magnets,
Yeah. So,
Yeah. But we did see the possible other version of the DAV because somebody else made it. The suppressor.
That was cool. So
yeah, he emailed me.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, I can send you the files so you can try to make it yourself. And I'm interested to see what changes you might make.
So describe what it was that way.
So, okay, first of all, let's talk about his gun. He has...
I was going to say, let me go down that one.
Yeah.
So he is also a gas gun enjoyer. He has a KWA gas blowback ACR that he also understands gas gun mags are dog shit. So he 3D printed a lower, then modified a KWA LM4 mag to sit just the top half of the mag. So he would like cut the mag off because LM4 mags do separate at the top, inlaid that into the receiver, drilled it from the side, put an HPA line on it. So now he can run AEG mags through it. The gun runs on HPA. He had to make a custom bolt carrier to actually make it run properly.
Yeah, like he broke 3 bolt carriers, he said. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to get one made. So he has like a CNC'd bolt carrier for it. I'm like super impressed.
And that's just the gas gun part.
Yes.
Then he put a Boss unit on it and decided, it'd be really cool if instead of modifying the lower and putting a micro switch there, I just made a suppressor. So then he made a custom suppressor that had a basically mini computer in it where whenever you would fire a BB through it, much like a tracer unit, it would fire the Boss unit. Downside, 10 milliseconds of offset. So it was kind of like what we had talked about in the beginning. You fire, then the Boss fires. It's a little out of sync. It's not as good as like the GHK and the
and that's why I've never been a fan of like a muzzle mounted activator for the Boss.
Well, the other problem is then he had to have a wire that ran the entire length of the barrel through the handguard down to the Boss unit. Now that could also be remedied by he had the 10-inch handguard with the 18-inch ACR barrel, so he just had it like wrapped with tape to cover the wire.
Yeah.
If you just have a 12.5-inch rail and a 14-inch barrel, no one's really going to notice that. You could just run the wire under the rail.
Then he got tired of it just activating the boss. So he's like, let me also make it a tracer
Yeah.
and also make it a smoky wolf, basically.
Yeah, so he made the suppressor extra large.
And
Oh, it's
he
huge.
made the whole thing himself. He got the breadboard, like he got the components, and man of my own heart, right? He used ChatGPT to help him write the code for the microcontroller, and
It
I mean,
worked.
that's what I did. I
But
used ChatGPT to write code.
He was having the same issues you were, where on Saturday it was raining.
Yeah.
Because of the humidity and the moisture in the air, that suppressor was randomly making his boss unit fire.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go to a sensor or a micro switch like that, like the humidity is going to fuck with it.
And he taught me something I did not know. Carbon fiber nylon can conduct electricity
Yes.
Oh shit.
enough to maybe make the boss fire.
Because he
Oh.
said he printed his stuff out of ABS.
It's ABS with glass fiber.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he used. And his receiver looked nice.
It looks great.
It wasn't bad.
ABS is super strong, and
Yeah.
glass fiber enforced ABS is like really fucking strong.
Yeah, that was super cool.
I was super impressed with the gun he built. I mean, it is like a prototype looking thing, but I was just so impressed with the ingenuity of it.
And this entire conversation started because I went, holy shit, everybody makes fun of me for my attachments. What the fuck do you have going on here?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, let me show you.
Yeah.
Dude, even his flashlight. Remember he had a micro
Yeah.
switch to his flashlight.
He had a Harbor Freight flashlight with an 18650 adapter that he had then used basically the same micro switch we use for the DAV kit on the other side as a pressure switch. And I'm like, you know, they make flashlights with tape switches, right? He goes, yeah, but I had all of this stuff and I wanted to do it last night. I'm like, okay, sure, man. Like,
Fucking
get your
impressive.
bag.
Yeah, like he's got level 4 gunsmith perk and
Yes, he
Fallout. Like,
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
and energy weapons.
Yeah. He's got the autism to make it all work.
Oh yeah, no. I'm gonna get back to him. I want to see if he can collab with any future boss.
Well, yeah, imagine-
projects.
dude.
Like he's somebody I think I would love to have on board.
Dude, imagine
From an engineering standpoint, and
imagine the versatility of just having a boss unit and a tracer unit.
Yeah.
So you just mount the boss unit, put the trace or put the suppressor on any fucking gun you
Imagine
own,
if they were wireless.
right? And theoretically, it would work, right?
I
Still need a battery for the boss, but yeah.
Sure, but maybe that's incorporated into the suppressor or incorporated into the boss unit.
I think it'd be possible to have the boss unit integrated into the handguard of an airsoft gun that still fires BBs.
I don't think it is.
I think it is. Like the inner barrel would have to run through the middle.
Right.
So your reservoir will be like a donut instead of a cylinder.
Which would require a second gasket.
Right.
But also, like, I haven't asked Mark and Shane about this, but I think the reason why the electrodes are centered is because the gas has to burn outward evenly.
I don't know.
So if you put the electrode on one side and it's a cylindrical shape, it's not going to burn all the way to the other side before the left side's done.
I know my idea is possible. Like science can do it.
Yes.
But
Will it be reliable?
It would be so engineered. It would be very expensive.
Yes.
But like this guy we're talking about, that player.
Yeah.
I feel like he's somebody that would
also-
he'd have the same vision to be like, all right, let's thug it out. Let's try to do that.
Yeah, I think anything's possible with enough time, determination, and money. But what I'm getting at here is that would require 2 gaskets.
Yeah.
And now you have just taken the reliability of the system and cut it in half. Because the most unreliable part of the Bosch unit is that gasket.
Yeah.
Dan is the number 1 contributor to gasket sales. And it's because he blows one all the time.
Really.
I don't
Does he
know.
just not lube them?
Dan
I
doesn't
clean-
lube it.
I
Dan
clean
did-
his unit.
Dan doesn't tie his shoes, so
Yeah.
I have a hard time. Like,
Dan just
But you're taking the
fires
one
on
part of
God
the
mode.
unit that actually breaks regularly, and you're like, hey, let me make it 2 of those.
he's got 100,000 rounds on his fucking.
Yes, he does.
Like,
But it was a fun time. It was loud, boom, boom, and the recoil, like the heavy buffer with the GHK recoil was like, you know, my sights were a suggestion. I mean, I was overhopping 4.0s all day. I didn't really care.
yeah,
You know, I knew that like if I was clearing a room, I'm good.
Yeah.
And if they're really far out there, I'm good. Anything in between, I knew I was probably just shooting over their head. But yeah, no, it was cool. And then I have that 3D printed sleeve on my Boss unit. Somebody gave it to Jordan, and Jordan was like, "Oh, Anthony, you want to try it?" And I was like, "Sure," because he can't seem to get a reliable hold on the real M203 grips.
Mhm.
They seem pretty hard. They seem pretty hard to get. So our next best thing is to either 3D print a plastic version of a real M203 grip,
Which doesn't work.
which is not going to be that great because what makes the real one clamp so well is the fact that it has metal hardware that you can actually like apply torque to. So this whole handguard for the Boss is like the grip is, it's all one piece. The grip is on it. And it looks like a little Magpul, like MOE, like short vertical grip. Then there's like a little rail on the side. So,
and the player that did it, he put a rail on the side too. I was going to say,
like the Boss unit's heavy, and I understand people's complaints with that. I will say, like a vertical grip actually really helps.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference.
The weight of the Boss unit has disappeared for me.
Yeah.
Because that's all I use. I don't use other airsoft guns.
You're also just a bigger dude.
Yeah,
But it was so tough for me just to carry this fucking gas gun with
the little guy.
I thought you liked going to the gym.
I'm 5'8", right? I don't have like real estate on my body. So I'm carrying all of these mags, and I have the leaf top on or your Viper hood rather. It was just so much shit. I was like over cucumbered. You can't run.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Yeah.
No, it literally just goes away. It was heavy in the beginning, but I don't know.
Get good.
Not even that. Just get strong, I guess. I don't know.
A couple of weekends ago when I was running my Boss unit, like when we did that push game that push game, that was the longest duration of time. I just had the gun up.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much happening once we got into the city. Like I did not put the gun down, and like my arm was on fire. And like, and that's good. And that is how you build muscle. That is a workout.
He's leveling up.
Your left lat is just like remarkably larger than your right, just from fucking holding it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that is cool. The guy who put the activation switch in the fucking suppressor is awesome, because it also, the potential. So putting the Boss unit in the handguard, the first step to that is building a suppressor. Mm-hmm. That is the Boss unit right now. Granted, it's going to be smaller, going to make a weird pitch fucking sound or whatever the fuck. But that's the same engineering as it would be on a smaller scale to put it in the handguard.
Yeah,
because it's kind of the same thing.
I think it'd be easier to do the suppressor than it would be to do the handguard. Realistically,
it's the same engineering though.
Yeah,
because you still need the hollow space in the middle. But I don't know. It'd be cool. Will it happen? Who knows? But I think they announced that game. I think for AMS and Guardian, I think I'm going to go support gun, and I think I'm going to put a Boss unit
on your back,
on my back. I think I'm going to put it in a container of sorts,
like a Kydex sheath.
No,
that would work because it would keep the sleeve free.
Yeah, the sleeve needs to be free, but I don't want it to look. I don't want it to look like I strapped a Boss unit to my back. So I might.
Okay, so hear me out.
Make a thing or use a back panel or something like that.
So we get one of the Carl Gustav round holders.
Yeah.
Make a mount for it for your back.
Yeah.
Hollow out the top so that all of the noise of the Boss unit goes directionally out the front.
Yeah.
Then it looks Milsim.
Right? Yeah. 98% of Airsoft's looking right.
Be right by your ear.
Yeah.
Hey, he's got ear pro.
Just getting like subtle concussions every time I pull the trigger.
Well, you'll be in a building and you'll stick the gun out of a window.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll hear the gun out of the window, but then in the building, like if you're outside getting shot at by it.
You can mount it on the front, but then to mount it on the front, he's just going to get the into his face.
Well, I was thinking about buying that H harness.
Oh, the DZ rig?
Sure.
The one Edgar has?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the DZ rig.
Doing that, and maybe I could have it in a pouch or something. Like
that's a woods ball rig. You want to run that for a mount site?
Yeah, or a plate carrier, whatever.
So
if I'm running a saw, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Yeah.
When I did Dom's M16 and I direct barrel mounted the Boss and I had to modify the Boss, I feel like that whole package can be made a little bit more compact.
For sure.
Yes, we've said that. We have said that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
there's a design layout for the Boss unit where it's smaller.
There's also the AK variant,
which is inherently smaller.
And I think you could do more with it.
Yes.
I'm holding off on building my AK until I get my hands on that.
I'm trying to get Mark and Shane to send one of the prototypes out here. There's only 2 functioning ones.
Talk to Jono.
And they did say It reuses a lot of the M203 hardware. So basically, it looks right from 20 feet away. The closer you get to it, the more you realize you're like, that's not even buckled.
Oh, like it has the same front cap and the same sleeve.
Yeah. And the electrical control board is the same. So like the GP25 or GP30, whatever it's supposed to be, like the grip area is slightly larger because it's got to incorporate the same electronics. So like it's the right shape. The closer you get, the more ugly it gets.
You just got to squint.
Yeah. Safety squints.
Yeah.
I don't wear glasses when I Dremel. I just do safety squints.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's take a break. Daddy's got to go to the potty.
Yeah, I feel it.
We'll be back. Do you think it's bullshit that when these kids shoot, the parents get arrested too and charged with murder?
Well, you're heavily involved in it, right?
Yeah.
If was acting suspicious enough to potentially shoot, you would probably see it.
But I wouldn't call authorities.
No, but you're pretty well involved in your son's life. So you would see the signs. You would see that, oh, hey, he's acting out a lot. Oh, hey, we should probably correct this behavior. If you're not involved enough in your own kid's life that they devolve to that and resort to shooting school, then you're a bad parent and you should probably be held accountable for causing that.
But murder?
That's the slippery slope.
I think it's bullshit, actually.
I mean, aiding and abetting a crime is
It's aiding and abetting.
a crime, but that is also not murder.
But when they steal the gun from you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but now
You should have had the gun locked up. Okay, shoulda, coulda, woulda. He shouldn't have stole the fucking gun. You know what I mean?
so I see it, like this is going to sound very quickly like I'm agreeing with gun laws, but like
Red flag.
New York State technically requires that if you have a handgun permit, you have safe.
That's true.
Now, Westchester County takes the extra step that I believe this part's unconstitutional, where they have to come inspect your gun safe.
You can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you can go fuck yourself.
Here's my safety.
Yeah. So if you have a household where you own firearms and you have a teenager that's having emotional issues where he's acting out and you're starting to see the signs of like, hey, this could be a real thing. And you as a parent don't take the steps to either secure your firearm or get your son help.
So here's the issue. Only because experience, right?
Yeah.
When I go to hours your day, he says fine.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep. Because he's,
You know what I mean?
he's an angsty teenager. I remember being in that period too.
So there may not be signs at home.
Correct. Which then shows, but this is the outlier of that situation. I'm talking like the Sandy Hook school, not Sandy Hook. The what was the other one that happened recently where the kid's father was or mother was a cop and he stole one of her guns. You're telling me that there was no
in
Uvalde, there it is. You're telling me there's no point in time where like that mom had a suspicion?
No, dude, I'm telling you.
You're telling me that why does your son know the combination to your weapon safe where your service weapon's kept?
Because just in case somebody breaks in the house, you know what I mean? It makes more sense for him to know the combination than to not.
I understand the argument you're making, but to me it's one
Especially
of
in
those,
Texas.
hey, if you're trusting them enough to have that, why are you also not then teaching them about it?
I'm sure they did. Here's what I'm saying is that the parents aren't going to see the signs.
I'm not a father, so like I don't know that.
It's like, and I think about
do
that.
agree with the fact that I remember being an angsty young teenager, and even when I was having problems at school, like mom or dad would be like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I'd be like, "Man, it was
Fine, and you go to your room and fucking stew. But
yeah."
I think it's ridiculous that the parents get charged with murder and go to jail. Do I think that if proven in the court of law that you were like, here's the gun to go, that's different. But to just be a parent two parents who have to work every day of their fucking lives because it's America and you have to do that. And then the teens just being teens and not sharing, and because you don't know what to do with your fucking emotions. You know what I mean? You're not sitting there like a therapy session talking to your parents, especially not your parents, dude. Your parents are the last people you want to talk to. I think it's completely and utterly not only plausible, but likely that at home there are no signs. And unless the mother goes snooping through and finds like the manifesto or some shit like that, beyond that,
But as a parent, wouldn't you be doing that anyway? Because I was going to say Anthony's probably got a good take on this, but like I remember growing up, like
Anthony doesn't have a teenager yet.
that's true. He's getting close.
Well, if you look at all these that happened that became headlines, like all these fucking shooters, honestly, you can go from the current ones that were in headlines back to fucking Columbine, right? All these fucking kids have this thing in common, and they're not all just kids. There's either a history of mental health issues, they're on some type of fucking psychiatric drugs for their mental health issues. They're writing manifestos is a fucking red flag. If anybody says they're writing a manifesto, like that should ring fucking alarms. And then there's also just like on a more spiritual level, I guess, just like deep-seated nihilism. And like, it really is just this like act of like, I'm going to flip God off and I'm going to do the most heinous thing I can do to the most innocent people I can do it to.
Yes.
Is like my last fuck you.
But none of that shit comes out until after the fact.
Right. But my
Well, that's when we hear about it. But there's parents who are like, that the Uvalde shooter has a history.
So like
The fucking, the one that shot up
Tennessee.
in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right. Long fucking history there.
well, there's mental illness there.
But I'm
saying that but parents weren't charged in either. Well, the
Right.
Uvalde, yes, but no, he shot her. He killed her. In Uvalde, he killed his mom. So nobody was charged with that. There was a specific video I just watched.
because there was another one recently. I know which one you're
The
talking
cops
about.
went to the kid's house.
Yeah.
And the dad was there. I think he was drinking a beer. And I think he was in his underwear too. And he answered the door. Nice neighborhood. Like, this isn't like, it wasn't a trailer they pulled up to. And they're like, hey, your son's been like posted something on the internet or whatever. And we have to, it was something about school. And the dad was like, what? Like, yeah, hey, fucking Justin, get your fucking ass out. Or like, whatever, right? And so Justin comes out and he is the definition of, oh, fuck, they saw what I wrote.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's hands in his pockets just doing this. And the dad's like, hey, did you write that you were going to like shoot? He's like, oh, no, I didn't fucking do that. Like 3 weeks later, and they put the dad in jail.
So
like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's crazy to me.
Maybe, and this is going to sound really, really pretentious. Maybe I had good parents. Because
I think he was a good parent.
So this is what, but
I just think he wasn't snooping through everything his son did.
So that was the thing with my parents.
Fucking crazy. Also.
Even if, like, when I had social media, they had to have the ability to see it. When I had activities going on at school, they were involved. So to me, it seems like maybe that's not how everyone's parents are. Like, my parents were heavily involved when I was a teenager. So even when I would come home and be like, it was everything was okay, somehow my mom would find that shit out.
She also worked at the school, so she
did
inside tracks.
But even then, like, I don't see a possibility of, like, in my childhood, if I ever went down that dark path to where my parents wouldn't find out first.
Yeah.
You think that, but there's a lot that slides by.
Correct. But to me,
this is one post the kid made. This is why the cops were there, for one fucking post. So out of 1 million that the parents might maybe or maybe have not, it's plausible to miss that one.
Yeah. It just, it seems so...
Or maybe if it was worded cryptically or whatever the fuck, right?
It seems unfathomable to me that it's like, as a parent, you wouldn't want to be so heavily involved in your kid's life that you would miss the signs of, like, he's going down this dark path.
Not at the teenage years. Like,
now I understand. I was able to hide a lot of shit from my parents growing up.
You have to... They are so in a state of chaos. Their body's in a state of chaos. Their mind's in a state of chaos. Their social relationships are always teetering, and you're in that time where the worst thing that can happen to you in the whole wide world is for something to happen at high school, and then all of a sudden, because the high school is your world, right? There's every reason to hide everything.
Yeah.
And especially from your parents, dude. You don't want to have that awkward fucking conversation. You know what I mean? Like, fucking everything. So it is not only plausible, but likely that they were good parents and they just didn't, like, fucking North Korea his social media stuff. Like, it's completely plausible. And then to throw the dad in jail for murder, for like 2 counts of murder.
The murder's a bit much. I could see.
It's crazy. The kid, we're not talking about a 7-year-old, right? We're talking about a fucking 15, 16, 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like,
but still from
He has fucking autonomy.
yes,
You know what I mean? It's
but you
crazy.
have to understand the
It's
perspective.
like
I'm
Anthony
playing
going to
at
jail
here
for
where
his grandfather fucking killing somebody. You know, it's fucking crazy.
the angle of what I was bringing up before, though, like the firearms aspect, like there has to be some accountability there.
Yeah.
Like if
I would argue that teaching your son or daughter how to shoot, gun safety, shit like that,
Yeah.
is far better than putting your gun in a safe.
correct, I agree with that, and it also behooves them to get them involved in the shooting sports because at a young age, like, sure, was I going out doing competition handgun shoots? No, but did I learn how to shoot 22s and did I do competitive archery because that was the thing? Like, yeah, I did. So I had a grasp on, hey, these aren't toys, these are tools. And it's a tool in a toolbox that helps with it. Helps with whether I'm just going to the range with my dad or if I'm going to an archery
Did
competition.
you have access to those guns?
Yes.
Then your parents are at fault.
But I was also involved in.
No.
But I'm saying
had
I'm
access to
talking
those
about it
guns.
from a teaching aspect because
But
we've gone
by-
down this rabbit hole before
But by this situation, the simple fact that you have access to those guns means that the parents are guilty for anything that you do with them.
true.
That's crazy,
Well, I'm saying that's what you're making the connection on, and that is true.
right?
In this aspect, though, I'm saying because you have someone where it wasn't just like, oh, they're there. That's what I'm curious on. Like with that one you brought up where the guy, like he answered the door and the cops are like, your son posted some stuff online. Was that his guns that the kid used?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Okay, so did that parent or did either parent do something to get involved with them and teach them about, hey, these are firearms? Like, I'm just going to throw this out there the same way with you taught him about guns. You taught him about airsoft. He comes out sometimes with us and does shoot.
Yeah.
So he now has a positive reinforcement to like guns are fun and it's okay to say they're fun, but they're dangerous and they are tools. And if used improperly, someone can get hurt. So now,
Sure, and that's all understood. And you could teach anything about that. But now this tool that's dangerous will accomplish your goals.
correct, which is, I'm trying to make the connection here of giving them an outlet.
Look how big my arms were back in Tennessee. What the fuck?
Yeah, like kids need to have,
They need to have an outlet.
well, they need a fucking,
They need tools in the toolbox, which circles right back around to like karate, jujitsu, fucking.
Because we've talked about this before.
Confidence comes with physical strength.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, right? Especially with males. And physical strength is important. And knowing that, like, I know Anthony can't hurt me. I mean, he can hurt me, but Anthony can't kill me.
I can hurt you in other ways.
He can shoot you.
He can shoot me, right? He has to use a tool. But I'm saying if Anthony and I actually
If you
fought,
grapple.
fought. I'm not talking about let's have a boxing match. I'm talking about one person dies.
Oh, we're talking like street
I'm
fight.
winning.
Yeah.
I know I'm winning, right? Because I don't fight. Like, I got that dog. I see the red.
I can hurt you in other ways.
No, like everything's a fucking weapon. I'm not
Grab
going
the
to
stick
punch
and
you.
twist it.
I'm not going to punch you once.
No.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
whack. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to make you fucking die so that I can walk out of here. I have that confidence. I know I can do it, and I haven't met a person in staging that I don't think I could do it to. Now that could also just be 25-year-old Dave in my head.
Dave shoots and then we go back to the footage.
But the whole,
There were signs.
essentially the connection I'm making out there is being involved enough in the kid's life that you can positively reinforce them. You can
But
give
too
them
much
the tools.
involvement is negative.
That's true, but I'm saying giving them the toolbox full of tools. Because we've talked about this before. If you result back to the only tool in your toolbox is physical violence, it's not good.
But
The-
that's
the-
not
the
that's
trend
not the
is-
parent. I'm saying that the kid pulling the trigger and shooting and killing another human being is not the fucking parent's fault. That kid made that decision.
I understand what you're getting at. I'm simply making the case that
It's
would
like
it not
saying
be
it's like putting fucking Dahmer's parents in jail because they're like, oh well, you didn't stop him from killing and eating people.
he was well into his 20s and 30s.
Sure, but the age doesn't matter, right? I mean, I'd say anything over the age of fucking 13.
Yeah, I think it's bullshit. Like if the parents didn't commit the murder, they shouldn't be charged for murder.
Because they're going to be
That's
they're going to be
bullshit.
socially ostracized so much, like, and that seems like a reasonable punishment,
Yes.
right? And it also serves as a lesson to other parents, like,
Yeah.
fuck, maybe I should.
But
be
like,
more
you know,
involved.
if you were going through your kid's shit and you found a written manifesto
bad news
and there were
bears.
plans, right? You can't do nothing about that.
Big giant.
Like if you see that and do nothing about that,
Correct.
If
you're
you
now
take
complicit.
if you take them to the psychiatrist and he's talking about homicidal ideations, and you know this is the history that he fucking has, like you ought to do something about that.
So I could see in a court of law being able to prove it, because that's where it should happen in the court of law, innocent till proven guilty. If they can prove that the parents were negligent, then
But that's still not murder.
Correct.
Right.
It's a completely separate charge.
It's still not murder. It would be like aiding and abetting.
No,
or,
aiding and abetting it would be some sort of complicit, right? You were complicit in the act.
Well, it could be a ground for negligent homicide.
No, they didn't commit a homicide. They didn't run anybody over with a car. Like,
I see your point, and I agree with you.
I think that I don't think there should be any, in specific cases, I don't think there should be any punishment in terms of like judicial. I think it should be societal, and I think society will judge just like they do. Let the meme wars begin, that type of shit.
It's like if a player full auto retaliates somebody at the field, we fucking call up their house and ban his parents.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no, it's exactly the same. Or, yeah. We can't.
But is that
any of this?
No, I don't know. Maybe we could.
Maybe.
We could see it in the edit, because at the same way, it's not just saying, "Hey, we're going to ban your parents for that." Is that not very similar to the three of us go play at a field? Anthony does some fuckery, and then we get banned because Anthony did it.
Why do I have to do
I don't
the
agree-
fuckery?
I don't agree
Why
with
why am I doing the fuckery in this scenario?
I don't agree with
I'm
that.
just using you as the example. I agree with your point of
Yeah.
they shouldn't be charged with murder, but I also think it needs to be taken into account. Like, hey, it's on the parent to make sure that the child's raised and raised correctly
To a certain point.
to a certain point.
And we like to think we put a number on it at 18.
Yeah, society puts the number on it.
But realistically, anything over 13, and now that is a fully autonomous human.
Yes.
And so, shit
Just to
happens.
me, it's
I think it's crazy.
again, maybe it's the way I was raised. It's baffling to me that the parents wouldn't be able to spot the signs. Again, I'm not a parent, so
No.
I don't have that experience firsthand to say, oh yeah, like that's totally.
It's like saying, tell me what the gas is doing inside of that bottle. And you're like, I don't know, the bottle functions fine. It puts gas in the gas gun.
fair enough.
You know what I mean?
And then you leave in your hot car during the summer, and then it shoots out of your back windshield,
Kills.
Yeah, it does. It does to me though.
blows up in Dan's face.
I do genuinely believe though that it's on the parent to at least help positively reinforce their kid and give them other tools.
Absolutely. Parents need to be parents. But there's just that autonomy thing where I don't think the parents should be judicially in certain cases.
Yeah, like if there's obviously, if you're aiding and abetting, sure.
Here's your gun.
It's very unlikely that a sane kid that is just being a hormonal teenager is going to have this resolve that he has to.
The flip
Or
side,
kill
so
people.
I have
Like
another
there-
one that goes in the same
There's
realm.
it is a mental health issue, and it's not just a mental health issue, but it's like it's a pathology that develops over their lifetime, and it starts as young as, I would say, 3 or 4 years old when they start having consequences to their actions.
Yeah.
Assuming their brain's not broken, because again, it makes no sense that like a sane kid that's just going through it is going to rationalize that, like, oh yeah, this is a rational thing to do.
Yeah.
And they might justify it to themselves. Like the only way you can justify murdering a bunch of people to yourself and to have confidence in it and say, this is what I'm going to do, is if you just want to wreak havoc. And like, what makes people want to wreak havoc? What makes them want to fucking flip off fucking God, flip him off and say, fuck you. This is my last hurrah. I'm going to fucking do this terrible thing. And then whatever happens, happens. Because it's never a crime of passion. It's a calculated thing. Most of these fucks write manifestos, and their sole intention is just to harm people.
Yeah.
And that's not normal. Like, okay, is it cyberbullying? Like, no, plenty of people have been cyberbullied and don't shoot and don't even try to kill, So there's just like there's a really weak spirit. There's a very resentful, nihilistic spirit.
I don't think God plays any role in this. I don't think any of these shooters are like, fuck God.
Well,
nobody cares about religion.
again, that also
in essence, they are. Because,
but not up here. They're not.
right. But in essence, if you think about it, like, what is the really like because that's what it boils down to. What's the most
That's not
heinous thing I can.
what it boils down to them. But here's the thing. I think the argument is the parents would see the signs. And my argument is it would be a lot harder than you think. And unless, like you said, you find a manifesto, which is a huge red flag, and you should absolutely fucking call
find
the
a
cops.
manifesto.
Yeah, that's like, and if you find the manifesto, you're on a clock, because in my opinion, I don't know, I've never written a manifesto, but I would imagine the manifesto is like the last thing you do. You're like, I've got the guns, I've got the ammo. Let me write down.
Well, I think shooting is the last thing.
Well,
you do.
yeah. But
Well, I would say at that point, you
know what I mean?
find the manifesto. It's time to go full North Korea on your household.
oh,
Well, there was
find
the guy-
kid.
Yeah.
Find the kid, put him in the fucking couch.
Remember the supermarket in New York?
Oh, the Buffalo one? Yeah.
The Buffalo one where the guy shot it up? Like his manifesto,
He was racially motivated.
well, his was like a journal kind of. So like it was very racially motivated. He was acquiring the equipment and shit.
Yeah.
That's just
And he
writing
was
this manifesto.
documenting it. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying, like, if you get to the point where, like, you're uncovering that manifesto, it's time to find him, time to lock it down, and dump the house.
You better
better
have
find the
eyes on
equipment.
him at all fucking times as you turn his fucking room inside out.
Turn the whole house inside.
Yeah, and then you're like, hey, therapist, like, yeah, we need to sit down now.
But same topic. What if, or not what if, it's already happened. It's the reason Remington doesn't exist. Holding the firearms manufacturer accountable.
It's absolutely
I think that's fucked.
fucking silly, dude. Think about every car manufacturer. Cars kill far more people than anything, right?
Cars actually don't kill anybody.
It's the people driving them.
Exactly.
But when somebody dies to a gun crime, it's the gun that did it.
Well, because we don't want to look at our kids and say, oh, there's a problem.
Yes.
Even though guns have existed for the
And to be
entirety
fair,
of America and also pre-American history. And now this is kind of a modern issue.
even smaller scale, it happens in the airsoft industry. It's not the player's fault. It's the fact he had a Polar Star.
Oh, that's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is kind of dumb.
I think it's the overregulation of HPA guns because it's not the player. It's the fact they have an HPA gun. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's the
too
same
easy.
shit.
It's too easy to shoot people in the face with it.
Yeah, it's too easy to be a scumbag with it. Yeah, sure. It's also a super efficient gun.
It
works super well. But now because some shitters put on a dye mask and a pig rig and they went and full auto retaliation mag dumped some dudes. Oh, we can't have Polar Stars.
So there was this is old, right? I heard about this while I was still in the Marine Corps, right? So local news station doing a story about a former Marine who was teaching his pretty young 3, 4, 5-year-old how to shoot.
Okay.
And the female interviewer sits down and you could tell she's not really comfortable with the fact that he's teaching such a young, I think it was his son. And she's like, don't you feel like you're giving him the tools to kill? And he looked at her and said, well, are you a prostitute? And she was like, what? She's like, you have all the tools to be a prostitute.
What an interesting response.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
like, it's all about morality and fucking what's in here, and what's in here.
Dude, I learned how to shoot a bow at 5 years old and I learned how to shoot a gun at 7. Is that any different? Like, no,
But you still have the tools to be a prostitute.
technically. A male prostitute.
His point was basically just because you learn something doesn't mean, he's going to go off and fucking do that shit. Or, learning how to be a carpenter, am I going to run around with a hammer and fucking murder people? No. Like,
My parents could have easily thought that I was going to.
I thought that.
I was just so obsessed with like guns, but like it was just pure autism.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted an airsoft gun, and mom was like, no guns in the house. And I'm just like, well, Nerf gun, no guns in the house. So I'm like making fucking paper tube shotguns. Like I was able to chamber my little cone dart and blow out of it. Like it had a magazine tube, dude. Like I was making cool shit. And then I eventually got Nerf guns and I was like, Nerf guns are cool. And I was like, let me put like thumbtacks on the tip of the dart so I can like hit the wall and have it stick there. And I was just so into guns, because I just think guns are fucking sick. And my dad had like a Bud K catalog and I would like go through it and be like, I want this gun and this gun. And one day when I was like 8 or something, he's like, all you fucking talk about is guns. He's like, you're starting to fucking concern me. I'm just like, no, Dad, like,
See, there it is, a concerned parent.
yeah.
Yeah, but talking about an interest is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't shoot a real firearm until I was like in middle school. And my bandmate,
Yeah.
Tristan, his dad, NRA member, you know, he's got a bunch of guns. So like he would let us like shoot the 22s, and he would like supervise it. And he taught me gun safety and everything. And I got to have those experiences because of him. And he was glad to
I know what you're gonna say.
That must have been a nightmare teaching you gun safety. Oh my
no, it was fine.
Bouncing off the walls with your ADD riddled brain.
Yeah, maybe that.
Look at this thing. This thing's fucking. Is this a guy? You could say, are these legal?
Yeah, but like even up until like a few years ago, like I would go trap shooting with them on Sundays, and you know, it was a good time. And I mean, my parents, yeah, they would have thought that, but I just what it really was playing video games, seeing the guns, thinking that it was cool, seeing fucking airsoft videos, Scout the Doggy,
yeah,
and like it was that early airsoft YouTube that like got me like I was like I want airsoft guns, like I was like I just want to play airsoft. This is so freaking cool. But yeah, no, they totally thought like...
Well, that was like the natural progression. It was like rubber band guns, Nerf guns, then it was airsoft.
Yeah, like when a kid gets super into guns,
yeah,
you know. And
mine was BB guns into real.
I didn't have a BB gun, but I had a rubber band gun, a Nerf gun, and a bow.
Yeah, my uncle was a hunter guy, and so I used to go with him all the time. I shot pretty young, but it was... And then my cousin and I had pellet guns, and we would hunt squirrels and shit. But that was Florida.
Yeah,
life's different in Florida.
Yeah, and then FPS Russia. I was just watching his videos. I was just like, oh my god, like that's an AUG in real life, and he's shooting a watermelon with it. You know, and there's tannerite in it. Fuck yeah.
Because like we still talk about it to this day. That used to be the thing to do. We'd like Friday night play Battlefield 3, get super hyped. We're like, we're gonna go play Airsoft tomorrow. Play Airsoft all day, and then we'd look and be like, so we going home and play Battlefield tonight? It was like the mix of video games and Airsoft. Like it just went hand in hand in the early 2010s.
Yeah, and as a kid, I had that real main character syndrome. Like you'd watch movies and you'd watch like TV shows, and now at this point, you have enough airsoft guns. You run around, you play airsoft, and you watch the movie, and you're just like, "That's bullshit." Yeah. If I was in that situation, I'd fucking John Wick didn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
It was like, and then you just play the fantasy in your head when you're playing airsoft. You're just like, I'm the main character. I'm fucking.
We've talked about that as the normie topic, like full auto retaliation, but maybe this was the normie discussion we needed to have.
Watch your friends.
Watch your friends, but have multiple tools in the toolbox.
Watch your friends.
Pay attention to your friends.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So...
That was a 40-minute discussion on societal.
When things don't go your way, you have one of two options.
Pull a gun. Oh.
You can blame everything except for yourself, or you can take some accountability and think inward and think, what can I do differently to improve my circumstances?
Well, if you shoot
I think
everybody...
the latter is healthier.
Fucking damn it, Dave. Got me so good.
Yeah.
Fucking got me.
So, dude, I've had this skit rattling around in my brain for like quite some time, and I don't know where. I was building the awnings out there, and it was hot, and I was just miserable. So in my head,
don't be a dick, be a Richard.
Yeah, in my head, no. In my head, I was like in my happy place. But so I came up with this whole skit, and the perfect comedian to be in the skit would be Shane Gillis. All right, so you have to picture Shane Gillis in like
you already won me.
Yeah, like in 1500s wilderness America, right? And he's dressed like John Smith, right? So he's got like the stupid helmet, and it's kind of crooked because it's Shane Gillis, right? And he's just like, he's mostly in costume, but like pieces of the costume are kind of like shit. I have to pee, and then we should talk about Aries Alpha.
Yeah.
I think we keep that whole segment.
Touchy.
It's touchy, but
Very touchy.
so there was a really interesting comment on one of the podcasts, and actually let's talk about this one first because we could probably sum this one up in about 60 seconds. Somebody asked, instead of having the flea market for 2 days, why not have it on one day and push everyone to come at once? I usually can't make it both days.
So then, wait, if you can't make it both days,
come on one of the days.
He's saying you can only come on one of the days.
He wants to bring all the
instead
customers
of the flea
in.
market being Saturday and Sunday, just be like, the flea market's only on Saturday. So everyone that's going to show up to buy and sell stuff shows up on Saturday. So it's more busy.
No, what'll happen is we'll put it on Saturday, and then that guy will be like, fuck, I can only come on Sundays.
Well, the whole point is to cater to the entire audience.
Yeah. So the
It's
world,
a flea market weekend, not a flea market day.
if I drop dead right now, the world will keep spinning.
Yeah.
And people will still go to work, and people have lives and schedules, and people are going to show up when they can. And, if you miss the train, you miss the train.
Yeah.
The train schedule is on a tight schedule.
First train leaves at 5 a.m.
not gonna
last
wait
train
for you.
leaves at 2 a.m.
Be there or be square.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say to that.
The next
Yeah,
one
it's-
is this sounds ridiculous, but if all your squad leaders had on miles gear, it would be good for your AAR, but then you would need a server monitor system, etc. That's really funny he brings that up
That is funny he brings it up.
because we actually have a system now.
Miles gear it's definitely a really expensive and complicated way to do that.
And the system is free.
and it excludes all the other players that aren't squad leaders.
Yes.
Sure.
This,
We started using Ares Alpha. Let me back up, right? So I was talking with Brian, the executive outcomes commander for Blood Diamond, and we filmed an AAR, and in the beginning of the AAR, we had to be like huge disclaimer, right? Like we both have gray in our beards, which means I forgot what I fucking ate this morning. You know what I mean? So the AAR was basically based on one person on each team's memory, which is fallible, and limited viewpoint of the game.
Yeah.
Right. We think we know what happened because of radio comms and whatever, but we don't truly know what happened. So we sat down and started talking like, man, wouldn't it be great if we had a GPS based system where every player is marked and tracked, for organizational reasons, right? For the game flow and everything like that, but also because we can record it and then have a proper AAR where we can actually watch dots move around a screen and be like, oh, this is actually what happened. This is the order I gave, but this is actually what happened. That'd be fantastic. So we looked at ATAX. ATAX is great, but it's way complicated. It's probably perfect for some SF guy who wants to like zoom down drone feed and shit like that.
Yep.
But for the average airsofter, it's very complicated. It also doesn't quite do what we want it to do. Dragon Force is pretty good, but that one is paid.
Yep.
You have to pay for that. So we found Ares Alpha, which is fantastic. It's designed and built by an airsofter for airsoft. So it's like perfectly syncs up with everything. It does everything we want. It's free.
It's streamlined.
It's streamlined. Like creating an account is even streamlined. It's so easy.
Like I've used ATAC a lot for MSW games, and I will argue it's still too complicated for some of those games because sure, I can find Anthony on the map and I can send him a message directly through ATAC and I can put, points on the map. The amount of work it takes just to import like the MSW map for the AO into it. So it's not just like a section of woods that you're looking at on whatever view you take, because on ATAC, there's like 20 different views you could use. You could have topographical, you could have a street map, shit like that. I've never successfully been able to import it myself. I always have to have somebody else do it and send me a data packet. With Ares Alpha, we were able to do it in one night.
Oh,
it was so easy.
It's very intuitive.
Yeah. And you still have all those features.
Yes. Yeah. You could still so we used it yesterday.
Yeah.
And we used it for one game just as a test. You can like have QR codes that players can scan to either score points for their team or put up a UAV, which is a super cool feature.
You can also have an EMP jammer.
You can have an EMP that jams the other team's fucking shit. You can steal points from the other team. Like there's a bunch of shit you can do.
And there's an in-app chat.
Yes.
Like you can message people on your team.
Yeah. So the one thing that we're having a problem with that we haven't figured out yet is how to send missions back and forth via it.
You could even set your status. You can put if you're dead, if you need help.
Yes. And there's an emergency button.
There's an SOS button for real world emergencies, which is...
But it's neat because like once we figure out the pushing on of the missions thing, like that'll probably work really well where I can make up a order of movement, the objective we have to hit, the area we need to be in, and then just send it to Anthony and it pops up on his screen. We haven't figured out how to keep it on his screen yet, but we'll figure that out eventually.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Because even then, I was playing around with it, trying to set up hardpoint, which you saw that. Because we were playing hardpoint on Saturday, we had a lower player count because of the rain. And one of the most confusing things to the players was, even though we put it on the board, we put the map points on the physical map we had up there. We're like, hey, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, like so on and so forth. By the time we got to the second one, when Dylan was like, the hard point is moving, it's going on to the second hard point, they're like, which one was 2?
Yeah, exactly.
If now you have the ability to like look at your phone and go, oh, it's over here.
Yeah.
And now we can scale it to full field games where like we were playing Conquest and we were able to see everyone on the map. The UAV is fucking slick because I have a helmet camera perspective. I haven't looked to see if it worked, but Dan and I were in the bottom 4 of the Hacienda. I'm like, I don't know where the rest of our fucking team is. I don't know if the dude I'm shooting at is actually on our team. I flip it down and I go, okay, so Dave's over there. Players are here. Okay, the dudes in front of us are on blue because we have a UAV up. Like, okay, yeah, keep engaging those guys.
Yeah. And the UAV too is a cool feature. It's just, again, it's largely based off QR codes at this point. And so wherever the player scans the QR code for the UAV is the center of the UAV. So theoretically, for an event, you could put that QR code on a prop.
Yep.
They could capture that prop and then physically move the prop to wherever they want the center of the UAV to be.
Yep.
And then scan it. You know what I mean? So it's like this usable fucking prop.
And now you make it a prop that's the size of a large trunk. So you make it difficult for them to carry, knowing that they have to go into CQB for their next objective where it's hold CQB for an hour. And it's like, fuck, if we want the UAV, we got to put the work in.
Right. And it's cool the way that it's like shown on your map is like a video game. It's like just a circle. And inside that circle, you can see enemy players.
Yep.
And it's cool. And there's like a little bit of deviation or offset, like in terms of your position versus your teammates' positions and also enemy positions, which I think is fine because now if you put a UAV up, basically it's going to tell you there's guys in this area. It's not going to be like he's right behind this one, come around the corner and shoot him. So it's not going to be like super overpowered, but it is going to give you like, hey, they're in that area or they're making that movement or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like.
And you can jam UAVs.
Well, so what I was going to say was,
jam it.
I also think that plays into like just the technology of like your phone and the GPS in it. It's never going to be perfectly precise.
No.
So you're not going to have wall hacks, but you're going to have enough information to be like, oh yeah, if we're hitting the embassy, there's fucking dudes in there.
I think if you stay in the same position for like 10 minutes,
It might get
it'll
accurate
get more accurate, but nobody's ever going to fucking do that.
Yeah,
Like,
because I've noticed yesterday when I was like doing my little fucking vision quest around the field to see how accurate the map was, if I stopped moving to like look and see, the dot would still move a little bit here and there till it got like precise. It's still fine how it is.
yeah, it's totally fine. And then the cool part is that once the game is done and over with, it saves a recording of the entire game from the map's perspective. So now if we wanted to do an AAR on a larger scale event, we can see everybody's dots. So there's like a game master, and the game master can see both teams.
Yeah.
And that's what gets saved as a replay, right? Like when you're playing and you scan in as just a blue team or a red team or whatever, you can only see your team unless a UAV gets put up. But as the game master, you can see everybody. And it was cool. So while they were playing that game, I had it up on the safety brief TV, and like people down in staging were like watching.
That's fucking awesome.
No, it was cool.
I love that we've
dude.
progressed to this, because I remember there was a point in time we talked about it and you're like, we don't need to use it here. It's not going to be necessary here. It's no, we're not going to do it. And then we finally hit that point where we're like, no, it's going to help. This is worth doing.
Well, and for the op, right? Because I had our comms were quasi fucked. It would have been nice to have a secondary means of accurate communication, and it does have that in-game messaging system where I can message the whole team, I can message one squad, I can message one person, and have it go through. And
because even yesterday, so after the Full Field Conquest game, we were playing. It was like an attack and defend game, like team,
it was base assault. Full field.
Team defending or spawning in Newtown was defending the Hacienda. We were spawning it over under defending the mosque. Anthony, Jojo, and I like went on a 13 county fucking nature walk, and we were on the rock wall by the embassy, just trying to be like a blocking force. We were sitting there for like 10 minutes, and we we're just like, okay, clearly no one's coming over here. So I see a message from Anthony saying something stupid, and I'm just like, he's far enough away that I don't want to yell it to him because I don't want to blow our spot. So I just message him back. I'm like, hey, do we want to bump up like 30 feet?
Yeah.
And we did. And coincidentally enough, when we did that, we realized there was a bunch of dudes in Fuel Depot. So we got into like a 12-second gunfight because gas guns.
Yeah.
And then had to turn and run because we were out of ammo.
And then we were about to get to the hacienda, and then they called game.
Yeah, we got into the bottom floor of the hacienda as Ronnie called game over. And we walked out of the hacienda into the courtyard, and he goes, oh, well, shit, if I knew there was fucking blue players in here, that would have tied up the game. Never mind. And I'm like, yeah, you already called game over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and as a ref, he can scan into the game as a ref and see everybody.
Yeah.
So in situations like that,
He could have seen us.
he could have seen you guys on the map
Yeah.
coming in. So that's actually, damn it.
I would love to see if it gets to a
Yeah,
point.
there are games where like it looks like one team is just being really slow, and you're like, where did they go? But
Yeah.
really, there's a huge element that's flanking, and they're about to do something, and like,
I mean, even yesterday, by the time we got to the end of Conquest, I was like, where's the rest of red? Oh, the red team's in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Please stay on the field. Please stay on the field.
Now we have proof that you walked off the
Yeah, right. And we know your name and
Yeah.
or your call sign.
but it worked really well. And that was like for our first time using it, even though we had maybe 50 players on it, the fact that it worked that well from the rip, I was like, this is perfect. Like big scale, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I would love to see. So they have the props.
They have amazing props.
They have really cool props. But what I would want to see is almost something similar to like how the Desert Fox app has it. So they have it digitally on the Desert Fox tracker where they essentially set up like a geofence.
Yes.
So once you walk into that area on the map, it starts capturing that point.
That would be dope.
That would be fantastic for even something as simple as full field conquest.
Yeah, because now you can make a point a random spot in an open field. It doesn't have to be in a building. It doesn't like you can just and it could be different every weekend.
And that's what I'm thinking of for games like that Hardpoint game. We were just like throwing it on the map to see if we could set it up there. That'd be great. But now if there was a digital way to having that software where once the player walked in, it would track the time. So now we would know we wouldn't have to have a ref like hover guarding it and being like red team's in control, blue team's in control. It'd be done on the app. So now like it would also track the time perfectly.
So they do have a prop.
and then if it's contested too,
Correct.
the timer just
'Cause
stops.
I remember that on the
somebody
Desert
else
Fox
walks in.
app. Like if a point was contested, instead of being red or blue, it would show up as purple.
Yeah. Okay.
Something as simple as that, because then you know, like the only Desert Fox game I've been to is at EMR, but I remember specifically like the main castle at EMR was one of the flag points. So you knew right away, like you hit that big castle and it was the entirety of it. So as soon as I walked in and watched it pop up to purple now, I was
knew
like,
that
fuck, there's players in here. We have to be vigilant. We have to go through. Now, is that kind of game breaking? Because if we walked in and
Not
saw
really.
that it was just flashing like it was Battlefield and it was like, oh, cool, we're capturing the position. No, now it's contested. So we know there's dudes in here.
I think that pushes the fight. I think that's good for
yeah.
Airsoft. I mean, it may not, it's in
It
terms
also
of,
made us keep our guard up as opposed to immediately going into a relaxed posture.
Yeah.
Well, also, if you're patrolling around or whatever, and then you look on your map and you see that a point you just took is now being taken, you're like, okay, do we want to peel back and take that back?
Yeah.
Do we want to contest that?
so there's a similar prop. So one of the props that they have, which I'm considering buying, they're
Expensive.
quite expensive, but they got to make money somehow, right? The app is free and it's completely usable without the props.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's basically a domination box. It does multiple things, but
Okay.
but in my mind, this is good for domination and or cap or whatever, right?
Conquest.
Conquest, right? So you can link the prop up with the app. So then when you make a map, when you can make your custom maps, you can create a polygon, right? And that polygon can be anything. You could do Newtown, you could do a random spot on the fucking field, you can do Moscow, whatever fuck, right? And so when this team captures this prop, I don't mean pick it up and put it in their pockets. I mean they go up to it. Think about it like a flag station, right?
Yeah.
It's just a flag station that operates differently. So instead of putting up a flag or turning a 2x4 like we have on, it's like an RFID tag, and you have to hold it over the reader for a certain amount of time, and then boom, you've captured it. And when you capture it on the map, the polygon that you have tied to this prop changes color on the map. So it changes the opacity. So it's blue or red or whatever. It's not just a blue dot. It's whatever polygon that you made.
So it's like an entire area.
Yeah. So you could do circles. You could do whatever. You could do areas.
Theoretically, if money wasn't an object in this case, you could then do it to have one per large grid square. So now it's like, hey, there's 12 of them on the field. You have to have majority control of the entire field, not just the certain flag points. You have to control certain sectors.
Yeah, and that'd be great for other ideas I have. And you can make them any shape you want. They don't have to be circles or squares or whatever.
And I like that it has GRS coordinates, so that when you use the mortar mechanic, you can choose the square that you want to hit with the mortar.
MGRS is what you meant.
MGRS, yeah.
Yeah, and they're accurate, so you could actually use like a GPS to.
Yeah, it worked. There's
and
so
if you have a
potential.
UAV.
Yeah.
If you have a UAV
exactly
and you see where they are,
yeah, right.
Brian would appreciate that.
Yes, he would.
Yeah, we would still have to go out there and do the kinetic effect, but it would actually give you the ability to be like, hey.
Gives you a reason to not just instantly waste the UAV.
Yes. It also gives you a reason to actually communicate and cooperate as a team, because you're going to either waste the resources because those QR codes can only be scanned once, or you're just going to realize that your entire team walked off and they're in the parking lot having lunch.
Will Milsim Days have mortars?
Mortars
are expensive to operate, and they require some lead time because the blanks that I get, like, they don't show. Sometimes it takes a week for them to arrive. Sometimes it takes a month. It's fucking weird. But.
Yeah, that's like, I think that's blanks in general, because like the 9mm blanks I got for the Thunderbees, my first shipment got here in 4 days. I ordered double the amount and it took 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But that was why we had originally done the drone idea, because that's a cheaper and easier asset to run. But then the FAA, and now seeing off of the current things that are going on overseas with drones, you can start to understand why the airport with the military base might not like the airsoft field flying around.
Right.
Yes.
It makes sense.
But speaking of Milsim Days, though, they do make props that could be utilized for that. They make it's a target that reacts to impact, right? So that can go on a vehicle.
Mobile spawn point.
That can go on a mobile spawn point, yeah. And then you combine that with something like the Stingray launcher, right? So in order to take out this objective, you've got to hit that target with the Stingray launcher.
And you could even, because like we were looking at it, and it's like a small silhouette, and nothing's to stop you from putting a larger piece of wood on it that's pretty thin. So as long as you just
keep it small. So
I was going to say,
hard.
well, I don't know how accurate those Stingray things are. So it's like, hey, as long as you hit the broad side of the vehicle, you're going to disable it. Because nothing would suck more. Because like
than hitting the vehicle.
I'm not a huge fan of that Stingray launcher to begin with, because I don't think it's cool enough.
Yeah.
It looks like a 3D printed tube that fires some really expensive Nerf balls. But
yeah,
if I'm going to put the effort into, as a field owner, maybe having that prop and then supplying the ammo, then the player that, yeah, sure, it was free. He didn't have to do anything for it, but he went and put the effort in to acquire it and then use it on the one vehicle on the field, and that $90 rocket.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I hit that vehicle. I hit him in the door panel.
No, but you hit 2 inches to the left.
Right. Yeah. I'm not shooting 5.56 at him. I'm shooting an AT4 at him.
Well, the other thing you can do too with that impact is, I believe you can set it to how many impacts
before it's disabled.
Right. So then you could just say 1,000, and now you can shoot it with BBs.
Yeah.
So there's like,
maybe there's a vehicle mechanic where it's like, hey, small arms fire can take out the vehicle, but it's going to take 100 BBs.
Or 1,000. Or like whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking like if the plate is as big as it looks, which is only like this
No,
big.
I think it's like a foot by a foot. I think it's
okay.
large.
So yeah, maybe 500 BBs. Like,
can you set a rating for how hard the impact has to be?
Unknown.
I would
unknown.
assume probably not.
If you could, then like heavy machine gun fire would work, but like
Well,
your
that's-
green tag MP5 won't.
No, but I was going to say at that point, if it has the complexity for that, what if you make it an overall kinetic amount? So it's like, hey, if it gets hit by something at this, it actually counts as 3. Kind of like if you shoot an engine block with 50 Beowulf versus 5.56.
Yeah,
What's happening?
that'd be cool.
That'd be cool, but I don't think it's complicated in that aspect. I think it much like the app was meant to be streamlined. I'm going to assume that the system that they make to integrate to the app is probably pretty streamlined too.
Yeah, I think so. And
It's a good system.
yeah.
Did we have a normie?
No, I couldn't find one. I think our whole little discussion about societal issues with teenagers might stick as a normie topic.
That's not a normie topic.
I think it's a real topic.
Is it normie to shoot up schools?
No.
Yes, super normie. Don't do it.
Yeah, no. I really liked running the Aries Alpha app. It's fucking dope.
No, it's good, and we're definitely going to incorporate it into Crossroads. Again, it's
Milsim
free.
Days.
And if you're listening to this and you're coming out just to play on Open Play, download it. It's free. It's free, and you know, we still need to do more testing on it. I'd like to get more involvement, right? Because I think
Because we noticed that when we were watching it back yesterday, we're like, okay, so like 85% of red team was using it, and like 20% of blue team was.
there's like 5 guys on blue that
Yeah.
are using it, and it reflected in the points, right? Because simply because there was more red team using the app, they were able to scan stuff.
And any operating system can download it. Apple.
Yeah,
yeah.
because I was telling one of my friends about it, and he's like, "Oh, do I have to buy an Android phone?" I was like, "No, it's on iOS and it works
Yeah.
great." I was
No,
like,
it's
"You're
fine, yeah.
Don't worry about it."
No, it's a polished product. It's really good.
Yeah, it actually.
The only weird thing was with the playback. It didn't happen live during the game. And it was different for you, and it was different for me, and it was different again when I showed Katrina at home.
Really?
Yeah. So for the playback that I watched, which was over in staging, about halfway through that game, you and Jordan, your icons turned blue.
When we were on red team the whole time.
Yeah, when you were on.
And this is not the following game when we did switch to blue. This is during Conquest. So
Yeah.
like when you found me and you're like, "Hey, I'm walking back to respawn," I go,
Do you think it did that because we later on switched it to blue and his playback is
maybe?
maybe some data is getting overlapped,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
And then other thing was there was a guy who was on red, who scanned in as red, whose icon was blue the entire game. And he actually scanned one of the points, and it showed the points in blue, but it put it to red's total.
So the playback feature isn't super polished.
Yeah, so the playback feature is something weird. And then I think when I showed Katrina,
were you able to track if he was blue during the game?
he was red.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like he was
red.
in a building with me at one point.
Well, not only that, but when he scanned the points in the playback, it shows that,
red
he's
gets the point.
that he's a blue player
Right.
And that he acquired
scanned 50 points,
Yeah.
but it attributed that 50 points to the red team.
Right.
Yeah.
So the points were correct. So which I guess would be the important part.
Did you update the app?
Yeah. So it was different 3 different times. So there's something about
Their playback feature.
the way it's recording.
Yeah.
But it was so minimal that it doesn't fucking matter. And even for like, say if there's 200 people using it, if you, for instance, for Crossroads, because you can make squads, if I just tell the squad leaders to make the squad name, government, GF1, right?
Yeah.
That way during the playback, if we see a GF1 moving, but it's the same color as the other team, we know like, okay, well, it's just the playback.
You can make your username whatever you want, but when we do squad layouts, probably keep it to something standardized.
Well, so when you scan in as a squad leader,
Yeah.
you write the name of your squad.
Oh, it's like Arma.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then what happens is that squad leader scans in the rest of his squad. So everything's like trickle down, right? So the commander can scan in squad leaders, team leaders, medics. That's another thing, the medic feature.
That's a little complex.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is if we use medics, which we're going to try this weekend, right? We'll try medics and not using a medic, but like scan somebody in as a medic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everybody can be a medic. When you change your status on the same team, when you change your status to like hit or dead or whatever the fuck, I believe it sends a message to the medic with your location so that
I would
he
like to see
knows. Yeah.
Kind of like on Battlefield where it would pop up on the mini map that there's a player that needs to be revived.
Right. We can actually do that right now.
Yeah.
Because it uses the same kind of function as the SOS.
Yeah.
Because initially when we were testing like the I'm hit feature, it was like, oh, have the medic scan your QR code for you to be back in the game. I was like, I don't like that.
No, I don't like that either.
But
And I
there
don't
is a
think-
way to override it. You can just say, I'm alive now. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, cool, you're alive.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any need. I think that if it functions in the way that I think it functions and it sends the medic
Yeah.
your fucking location, because a large gripe with Blood Diamond this year was that like we could never fucking find our medics.
Okay.
So if this is a way to directly tell a medic, hey, fucking come here, then maybe the because we could have had medics on the field all day.
Yeah.
I only saw one.
Okay.
You know what I mean? maybe this is a way for the medics. It gives them a job.
Yeah.
You know,
Because at any point in time, if they're like, I don't have anything to do, go find a fucking hit player. You can look on the map.
Your phone vibrates and you're like, oh shit, there's somebody down over here.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that.
creates those little side quests. You know what I mean?
Because that was one of my, I'm always just probably going to end up comparing it to the Desert Fox app because that is probably the closest thing.
Very much so. Yeah.
With that, it was the same kind of system where like when you were dead, but they were also tracking tickets like it was Battlefield. So when you were hit, you opened up your phone and you went, I'm hit. And then when you were alive, the medic still had to come over and like bandage you.
Yeah.
But then you had to go, okay, I'm alive now. But then when you were dead again, you had to go, I am dead out of action, walking back to respawn. And then it was geofence. So once you walked into your respawn, as long as you had, the app was running and you were in that current game, once you walked in and you had your dead symbol or status set to dead, it would take a ticket away. So they weren't tracking kills, but they were tracking deaths. Because eventually one team would run out of tickets like it was Conquest and Battlefield and the game would be over.
That's a good system. I mean, as long as you get the participation.
Yeah, that's the thing. So with a system like that, you need the participation from the player because I could just as easily have been like, I'm hit and not do it on the app.
Yeah.
Because then I would never lose that ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was also much like Conquest where having control of certain points on the map also aided to the other team's ticket count going down. So there was a reason to use the app besides the whole like cheesing the dead status.
Yeah.
That's why I wouldn't want to do the ticket system here, but I would like to see if it does pop up for medics because that could be neat.
We'll test it right after here. Yeah, that would be cool. And we could do the ticket system just in reverse. So instead of you start at 0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You work your way up because with the QR codes, with the point QR codes, I can set them to be one-time use. I can set them to be multiple use.
I did notice that when I was like, because they're labeled as like perks on the app.
Perks, yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing is like, could you just scan it and then scan it and then scan it?
Yeah. Like, can you add a cooldown? Like it can.
There needs to be, for each player, there needs to be like a 10-minute cooldown. Like, okay, you scanned it. You can't scan this one for another 10 minutes.
I think for the QR code in general, there needs to be a cooldown, not just for each player, because like that would kind of suck. Like I think the smallest amount of points one of those could be was like 100 points.
50, yeah.
Or 50, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. A squad of 12 dudes rolls over and they all scan it.
Right.
And it's like, well, shit, that's...
Oh, yeah. So the QR code needs a cooldown.
Yeah, the QR code itself. That way it's like, cool, this squad took that area. They get the 50 points, not 600 points. Yeah. Because that could be a problem. It's like, sure.
Well, it's all relative, though, because like it's basically the difference between the final score being 500 to 300 versus 5,000 to 3,000.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't really...
Yeah, but it would be... Because also now, if we're talking about the game flow, that could also turn into now there's too many players worried about, I need to take my phone out and scan this. Just make it so only one person has to scan it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because then you
just make them one use.
Yeah.
So there is a world where, oh man, you print out 150 QR codes.
And the refs, when they know that one's been scanned, they walk over and switch it out.
Yeah.
But like they switch it out every hour on the hour.
Yeah, or add more or whatever. You know what I mean?
It could just be as easy as just walking over and sticking
right on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do that.
At the end of the day, you just have like a stack of 20 of them.
Yeah, right. But there's also cool stuff you can do with the props as well. Like the one that I'm looking at. I mean, there's games where you can collect a resource from one place and deposit it in another.
That would work for
like a bank heist type.
I was going to say, Dylan and I have an entire bank heist game written up where we were like, okay, so we got to get duffel bags and we're going to fill them with rocks. Oh my God. And we called it heist because the entire, like Dave said, every Airsoft game devolves into like 3 things: secure the area, retrieve the item, defend the item. Like those are the big 3.
Yeah.
So it was essentially down pilot, but instead of having to get the pilot, you've got like 10 duffel bags filled with rocks that are the money. And you have to go deposit them into your team's fund.
Yeah.
And that could maybe unlock assets in the game like a UAV or shit like that.
Sure.
And we've been talking about this since like November.
Mm-hmm.
But that could work because now if it's a QR code where it's like, here, I saw the gold bars thing, like you got gold bars, go deposit them at the bank. If you have enough of those, you can now buy a UAV.
Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't even have to be done through the app. I mean, obviously the gold bars does, but like purchasing the UAV would be easy to do.
And now like we tested out, what was it during Blood Diamond last year, the UAV asset where the players could use the drone.
Mm-hmm.
We no longer need that.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I remember we tried and we're like, it kind of fucking sucks because of treetops.
It sucks because of the trees. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, now we have
I was flying the drone and the kid was just like, all right, what, I think it was Maxry, and, what do you see? And I was like, leaves.
green.
See fucking green leaves.
I see green leaves.
I was like, you told me to go to an area that's complete canopy cover. I'm like, I can't see anything.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave at some point very soon. I have an appointment.
We're 2 hours in.
Yes.
All right. So anyway,
I don't want to cut the conversation. I want to keep talking about this, but I did not think we'd be.
That's fine. So Aries Alpha, go ahead and download it. Just make an account. That's all you have to do. And then when you get here, we'll scan you in. Make sure you allow the your camera.
Yeah, the camera.
Yeah, camera and GPS. And we'll try some more things out with that, guys. Good night. God bless. We're out.
Oh, Bully Grimnir.
Bully Grimnir.
Oh, yeah.